John Blake presents Shallow Graves, written by Ray Fysh and read by Michael Chance. Foreword by Andre Baker. The greatest honor of any detective is to investigate the death of another human being. In an era when the police are being challenged in their methodologies and processes, forensic evidence so often proves key. Some forensic evidence is very difficult to question. If DNA testing says there's a 1 in 500 million chance of a single sample belonging to a suspect, this, along with other details, amounts to a fact. Whereas other pieces of evidence, such as blood splatter, require careful interpretation and analysis before they can be used or even prove helpful to a case. That makes an experienced forensic specialist essential to police investigations. I've known Ray Fysh since he was a toxicologist, then as a specialist advisor working with inquiry teams in all areas of forensic evidence gathering. I count Ray as a dear friend, and we often catch up with other colleagues over a beer, reminiscing over old cases, putting them right and challenging one another as to what would you do. Over 40 years, Ray's dedication and service to forensics has been invaluable. He has contributed to the development and enhancement of forensic science, and is a true stalwart of his profession. I've counted on his expertise many times throughout my career, but several occasions and cases spring to mind. The first was at the turn of the millennium. London was recording around 200 murders per year, 1/4 of the national annual numbers. The Metropolitan Police Service, MPS, was also under increased scrutiny following the handling of the investigation into the murder of Stephen Lawrence in South London. The spotlight was on policing in general and on the MPS in particular. We had to do things better, in a more open way and to much higher standards. We needed to attain better detection rates, to work more closely with families and communities and, of course, to reduce the number of victims of murder. The MPS took on the challenge with a murder prevention programme, which I oversaw as the service's first head of homicide investigations at Scotland Yard. The idea was to identify and tackle key incidents and acts of violence which, if left unaddressed, could escalate to murder. A senior analyst, along with a team of 6 newly recruited high-potential graduates and a couple of police officers, broke down murders into 16 strands, including domestic violence, knife crime and ritual, and worked on finding ways to stop that violence. A key part of the team's intelligence came from forensics work. While the painting of a full forensics picture may not always have been possible given the evidence my team was working with, the integration of forensics intelligence helped to form scenarios on what may have happened, or was used to identify other opportunities for investigation. Ray was the specialist advisor to the MPS on murder. He was very much a part of my team. Along with other initiatives, the programme saw London's murder rate fall from 200 to 125 people per year. That meant 75 fewer victims and 75 fewer sets of bereaved families and friends. The programme was later extended to the rest of the UK, to Europe and beyond, with Ray a key part of its development. Another case was the ritual murder of a little boy whose body was found floating in the River Thames in 2001. Ray's contribution to the investigation springs to mind because he proved himself to be a true team player, perhaps reflecting his days as a keen sportsman. He worked closely with the police in what proved to be a particularly difficult case. The case affected us all. We had what we thought was an unidentifiable young child, mutilated and thrown into the Thames. No family or community members were asking questions, and we had minimal evidence.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?